As a sign to all the climate change fanatics, it's snowing and snowing hard in the heartland of America, up to 1.5 feet. And driving out in that part of the country is treacherous.
The snow has shut down schools, airports, even state legislatures. But it's also been good news for some people in the region, and Ephraim Graham has the story.
Whiteout conditions, strong winds, even thunder snow. Forecasters call the winter storm sweeping across middle America formidable. Travel is proving to be a challenge. From Kansas to Missouri, hundreds of flights are canceled and several major highways forced to shut down.
Cars in the ditch, everywhere. People sliding into people. It's a mess out here. I mean, it's really a mess out here.
Just got out of control, lost control due to the weather condition.
Kansas was the epicenter of the storm. Wichita buried under 14 inches of snow, the most the city has seen in an entire generation. Governor Sam Brownback declared a state of emergency as snowplows struggled to keep up with the worsening conditions. Drought-plagued farmers in the Midwest welcomed the damp conditions. Some farmers even calling it a blessing.
This will get our spring crops growing, our oats and our alfalfa and our spring pasture.
Parts of the Midwest have been engulfed in the worst drought in decades. Climatologists say 12 inches of snow is the equivalent of about 1 inch of rain. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
My, isn't that nice? Well, no school, I guess. It's probably good for the kids. They go it. I don't know if in Kansas it's all flat, whether you can do sleigh riding or not, and sledding.
We were talking yesterday, some of us who grew up in the north, about the fact that it seems like there has been a cycle. We used to have snow like this when I was a kid, where you could walk right up onto the roof of the house, and it was heavy and frequent. And then we kind of went through a cycle where winters seemed to be milder, and now we see some of this coming back again.
Well, you know, when I was growing up at Thanksgiving in Lexington, Virginia, there was a big football game between Virginia Tech and Virginia Military Institute. They were the big rivals in those days. And it snowed like crazy. And it was just, I mean, this Thanksgiving, that was standard. And then we had ice skating on the river. There were a number of the rivers froze, and, but you haven't been seeing that. So anyhow, it's probably good. And despite the harbingers of gloom, I think all this wet weather's good for us. But the weather may be cold in the Midwest, but now if you can guess, talks and heating up in the nation's capital over cutting spending and raising taxes. It's a politics of scare and fright that we're dealing with, and our Wendy Griffith has a story from the CBN newsroom. Wendy, what do you have?
Yes, be afraid, Pat. Be very afraid. President Obama called House Speaker John Boehner and Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. They talked about those automatic spending cuts called sequestration, set to go into effect a week from today. The $85 billion in cuts will hit the military and some domestic programs. The president blames Republicans for the cuts, but one top Democrat says the president shares some of that blame, too.
The president is part of the sequester. I mean, the White House recommended it, frankly, back in August 2011. Basically, it's the president and the speaker who put together this deal. So now we're feeling the effects of the deal.
The president and Democrats want more tax increases, while Republicans say they've already agreed to more taxes, and now it's time for spending cuts. Are they right, Pat?
Oh, you bet to believe they're right, Wendy. The amazing thing is Obama insisted on this sequestration. It was his idea. And when the Congress said later, oh, we'll amend it to make it better, he said, if you do, I'll veto it. Now he's running around the country blaming Congress for his work. It's crazy. Are the people that foolish, that stupid to take this line? But he says, oh, it's their fault, and it's going to destroy America, and it'll, you know, everybody's going to be out of work, and it'll be catastrophic and so forth. It's not going to be catastrophic. 2-3% on this gigantic gross domestic product we've got. We have a GDP of something in the neighborhood $15-16 trillion a year. A few billion here and there is not going to make any difference, but it's a step forward in cutting down wasteful federal spending. And as Congressman Eric Cantor said, Look, get real. There's all kinds of waste and mismanagement in the federal budget. Cut them, and don't be talking about laying off postal workers. Wendy.
Pat, this year's flu vaccine is proving to be ineffective for the most vulnerable age group, the elderly. Health officials say the flu shot only helps about 9% of those 65 and older. This explains why so many older people have been hospitalized with the flu this year. Well, despite the findings, the Centers for Disease Control still recommends that everyone over 6 months gets the flu shot. They say some protection is better than none, and those who get the shot may suffer less severe symptoms if they get the flu. Pat, I didn't get it. Did you?
Did you get it?
I did not get it.
I didn't either. Laurie Johnston disagrees with me, but I think natural immunity is a whole heap better than getting shots. And I think that if you have a few instances of this stuff, you build up an immunity. But the shots aren't working for the elderly. And did you get shots?
No, I didn't get shots. You know, even in what she just said, it may help.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to get a shot that may help. If the shot will help,
You're healthy and I'm healthy, and we're here praising the Lord. All right, Wendy, what's next?
Thanks. Well, 11 Republican lawmakers have joined the legal fight against the Obamacare contraception insurance mandate. 9 senators and 2 House members are challenging the mandate by formally backing Hobby Lobby, a national chain of arts and craft stores. Hobby Lobby's owners filed a lawsuit against the government. They say the mandate forces them to choose between their Christian beliefs and providing insurance for abortion-inducing drugs. Utah Senator Orrin Hatch led the group of lawmakers on Hobby Lobby's behalf. The company is among the few not granted temporary relief from the mandate. The American Center for Law and Justice has also filed a brief in the case. 4 foreign missionaries are the target of the latest Christian persecution in Libya. Libyan officials say they're accused of distributing Christian literature. And as Gary Lane reports, that's a charge that could carry the death penalty.
On Monday, we arrested a group. We found a print shop in Shabna area in Benghazi city. We found 45,000 Christian books.
The foreigners were reportedly printing pamphlets explaining Christianity. The material was mostly directed towards children. But proselytizing in Libya is a criminal offense, punishable by death, according to a law carried over from Muammar Gaddafi's reign.
We are a 100% Muslim country. This issue is not negotiable. It's prohibited to proselytize in Libya because it's an entirely Muslim country.
The 4 missionaries are in custody in Benghazi. The group is made up of a Swedish American, an Egyptian, a South African, and a South Korean. Libyan officials allowed Egyptian detainee Sharif Ramses to speak to the media. He says he was brought here from the moment they arrested him, and that he's been treated respectfully and not abused. Ramses went on to admit the group was in Libya to spread Christianity. An official presence said there were also espionage allegations against him because he refused to meet with anyone from his embassy. Ramses said he declined because he knew he would get little help from Egypt. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Pat, what do you think?
Well, I think it's another example of the religion of peace. You know, this is what the Muslims do. There is no freedom. That's not freedom. We believe in the freedom of conscience. We believe in the freedom of every man and woman to choose which religion they will follow and which God they will worship and under what circumstances. That's what we believe, and I think that's fundamental to human rights and dignity around the world, but not in the Muslim countries. You believe in Christianity and you want to tell somebody about your faith and you get killed. You are executed, judicially punished, because you are, quote, spreading Christianity. My. I wonder why the media doesn't jump on this, but they don't. Wendy?
Pat, it's been 2 months now since Super Hurricane Bopa ravaged the southern Philippines, killing more than 1,000 people and leaving nearly 1 million homeless. Now rains and flash floods continue to hit the area, making it difficult for survivors to put their lives back together. Well, as CBN's Lucille Toulousan tells us, that's why CBN disaster relief teams are still on the ground serving victims.
Most of Typhoon Bopa's victims are still displaced and are struggling to recover from the massive destruction it has caused. And the continuous rains bring more flash floods and devastation. And so now the people are getting desperate after living for months in makeshift tents and evacuation centers. That's why the CBN Disaster Relief Team has not left them. They are still on the ground finding ways to alleviate their hardships. Village Chief Crisologo Aronan was emotional as he thanked CBN for coming to their remote village to give medical care and fix their water pipes.
You are the first organization to ever hold a medical mission in our place. Thank you for coming. You have made all the people here very happy.
CBN also helped victims get back to work after the storm washed away their means of making a living.
The storm destroyed everything we had, our house, our fishing boat. That was my only source of income.
We have to beg for food from our neighbors because we have no money to buy food. I told my husband God is our only hope. Let's pray to him and ask for help.
When CBN gave Jose and Nelda a new fishing boat, it not only helped them begin rebuilding their lives, it also strengthened their faith.
Thank you, Lord, for answering our prayers. You really provide for all our needs. Thank you, CBN, because you are God's answer to our prayers.
CBN has also provided materials for rebuilding schools and lamps to bring light to areas where electricity is expected to be cut off for months to come. Meanwhile, CBN's church partners are giving trauma counseling to survivors. Even though conditions may one day be back to normal in these towns, its people will never be the same again. Through the ministry of CBN, they have a hope of moving forward in life and faith. Lucille Talusan, CBN News, Davao Oriental, Philippines.
Oh, Pat, they get hit so hard, the Philippines, but thank goodness CBN is there for them.
It's just amazing, Wendy, how we reach out around the world to those who are suffering. And it's so tragic that these natural disasters fall most heavily on the poor. And it's the same thing in the Philippines in that tsunami. There are poor people, subsistence living, and then suddenly they have nothing. Well, we're there to give them something in your name. So if you want to participate, here's the deal. It's called CBN International Disaster Relief Fund, and it's CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Or you can call in, make a pledge, 1-800-757-759. 0700. Thank you. Okay, but you can call, you can write, you can email. But now's the time to do something. And, you know, there'll always be disasters. You wish it weren't the case, but there will always be some problem. And if we can be there to help those suffering, it's our privilege to do so.
Business and labor groups have announced an agreement on a key part of an immigration reform deal. It's a new program that would let lower-skilled workers come to the U.S. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO reached consensus after weeks of closed-door negotiations. It's the latest sign that momentum is building for an immigration bill after years of deadlock on the issue. In order to pass, the bill would also need to address border security, employer verification, and a pathway to citizenship for the 11 million illegal immigrants in the U.S. Well, Operation Blessing is helping thousands of families fleeing the fighting in northern Mali. Teams are working with local churches there, providing displaced families with tons of rice, mosquito nets, and other relief supplies. More than 250,000 people are displaced because of Mali's civil war. Operation Blessing teams are targeting their relief towards the most vulnerable families, those who had major destruction to their homes or who had family members injured or killed in the violence. And you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to their website at ob.org.